General Robert H. Milroy, an influential contributor to Indiana government, has been both revered and crucified throughout history. He has been referred to in numerous ways over the years, from brave and unflinching to monstrous and cowardly. It is often difficult to reconcile the myth of a historical figure from fact. Yet if Robert Milroy's education, history, military, and government service to our country are any real indication of the man he once was, then it is fair to say that in life he was a force to be reckoned with, but also a man of righteous and noble character. Robert Milroy was born in Salem, Indiana on June 11, 1816, to General Samuel and Mary Houston Milroy. He and his family moved to Delphi, Indiana. Raised the son of a military man, Milroy's deepest desire was to attend West Point Academy. West Point provided not only an elite education, but also a prestige to its alumni that Milroy desperately coveted. But Milroy's father would never give his blessing for Milroy to attend West Point. Against his father's wishes, Milroy borrowed money from his uncle to attend Norwich Military University. He graduated valedictorian in 1843. By 1846, he joined the Mexican War as captain of Company C, 1st Indiana Regiment. Milroy married Mary Armitage in Delphi, Indiana in 1849. Together they had 7 children, many of whom did not survive into adulthood. In 1850, Milroy graduated from Bloomington Law University of Indiana and attended the Second Indiana Constitutional Convention. In 1852, Milroy was appointed judge of the 8th Circuit Court of Indiana. The Milroy family moved to Rensselaer, Indiana in May of 1854 and remained until 1867. He practiced law and built a home on what is now referred to as Milroy Park. While he was successful at law, his heart was never really in it. In an 1865 letter to his wife, Milroy wrote,
"I have from my earliest boyhood been ambitious and intensely desirous of military fame and renown. Had I lived in a country or an age that would have afforded me opportunity, my ambitions would have been as insatiable as that of Alexander or Napoleon. I felt an irresistible desire for war. I saw the present war approaching. I watched its coming eagerly."
When the Civil War began, Milroy issued the first call for volunteer troops in the U.S. on February 7, 1861. He was commissioned colonel of the Company G, 9th Infantry, and later general. Milroy fought in 21 Civil War battles, including the Battle of Cheat Mountain Summit. For 2 days, caught in the rain and snow, his troops, without blankets or tents, wept and watched helplessly as their horses died of exposure. Milroy stood tall all through the nights and cheered them on. At 6 feet 2 inches tall, Milroy was known for his fearlessness and won the nickname Gray Eagle. Veterans remembered him mounted on Jasper, his white stallion donated by the citizens of Jasper County, fearlessly shaking a fist and screaming profanities at rebel lines before each attack. One man remarked, "The rebels may kill him, but they can't scare him." Milroy sent hundreds of letters home to his family. Their constant correspondence was his calm amidst the storm of war. Mary kept him up to date on all the family business and town happenings. In a letter dated September 24, 1863, Mary writes,
"It's quite a cold and frosty morning. I have just started a fire in the room, and I have got Ellie to make one in the kitchen, in order to have a little time to finish my letter before I begin the duties of the day."
Mary also kept Milroy up to date on the activity of the rebels at the home front. On September 6, 1863, she writes,
"Cromwell has just been in and says that the butternuts burned last night Billy Parton's barn with all its contents, all its hay, grain, 4 horses, and a colt, a new wagon and harness, all were burned. Fire was put out to his house, but the family waked in time to be saved. The butternuts still threaten to burn our town. Some of our butternut families are immigrating to Minnesota. 12 families from the Lefter neighborhood left on Monday." In March of 1863, Milroy was promoted to Major General of Volunteers and took charge of the 2nd Division of the 8th Army Corps, stationed in Winchester, Virginia. Upon occupation,
Milroy took the Logan home as his headquarters and tossed the Logan family out on the street. Cornelia MacDonald, a resident of the occupied town, as with most of the town citizens, despised Milroy. In her personal journal, later published entitled A Woman's Civil War, she retells the story of her experience with Milroy's brutality.
Upon questioning a prisoner of war, Milroy asked the man if he wished the rebellion to succeed, and if he thought it would. When the prisoner answered in the positive, Milroy, in a great rage, declared it never would, but that they would send all the rebels' damned souls to hell. Such treatment of a gentleman so moderate and dignified could only have been inflicted by General Milroy.
MacDonald, an artist in her own right, once painted 2 cartoons depicting Milroy sending a white Southern lady out of the room while in the company of African American women. The brazen MacDonald sent one of the copies to Milroy, and it has since been referred to as the Milroy Valentine. In Winchester, Milroy and his 7,000-man army received instructions to prepare for withdrawal, but hold the position until further notice. Unbeknownst to him, the incoming telegraph line had been cut, and Lee's entire 60,000-men army was headed right towards Winchester. Lee surrounded Milroy on 3 sides. Milroy and the 1,200 men that he had left retreated and fought their way to Harper's Ferry. Milroy was brought up on charges, fought off a court of inquiry, was acquitted, and yet was denied from seeing any more real war action. But in May of 1864, he was assigned to a division of 100-day volunteers from Indiana to Tennessee, where he routed a small Confederate force in Murfreesboro. He resigned from the military in 1865. His controversial loss in Winchester haunted Milroy for the rest of his life and mars his reputation even to this day. After the war, the Milroy family moved once again to Delphi, Indiana. Ella, his beloved daughter, attended boarding school in Logansport, Indiana. In her diary, she wrote of friends, classes, teachers, and family. Her last entry was on February 16, 1870. In closing, she wrote, "First bell has rung. I must look at lessons. Good night, my book, and parents and brothers." She died less than a month after writing those words at the age of 18. While his military career was finished, Old Gray Eagle continued to contribute to our nation's growth in various capacities. In 1868, he became trustee of the Wabash and Erie Canal, and in 1875 held the office of superintendent and Indian agent in Washington Territory. Robert Houston Milroy died in Olympia, Washington on March 29, 1890, at the age of 73. When painting a picture of a historical figure, opinions are often relative. In the case of General Robert Houston Milroy, one must simply review the accomplishments of his life to pass judgment. In General Milroy's eulogy, the Reverend quoted one of Milroy's enemies, Confederate Commander Forrester, by repeating, "Milroy was the only Union general who ever defeated me in a fair fight." For more information of General Milroy, please visit our website at www.myjcpl.org or visit the Rensselaer Public Library to view our collection of General Milroy artifacts.